RCU has been carrying out research projects in the further education sector for over 20 years. We established that many practitioners in the sector wanted to undertake their own research, and some do so. That's why we set up the Research Fund. It provides selected projects with a cash grant to cover the direct costs of the project, but also offers in-kind support in the form of an RCU mentor and help with setting up surveys or analysing responses, for example. The 3 research proposals which were selected by us in 2010 came from Myerscough College, New College Swindon and the AOC South West region. Myerscough College set out to investigate whether the installation of electricity meters in student households would decrease electricity usage and attitudes towards green living.
My presentation was looking to investigate whether electricity monitors in student households would affect energy use, and also looking at, in coordination with that, sustainable teaching, whether I had an impact. It's basically trying to lower student electricity use in their households. These 2 groups were taught by me, and the other one was taught by other tutors. So this is basically my control group, which have the normal curriculum, and I have no influence on them at all. All they do is email me the weekends, just to compare whether I'm having any influence or not. And then this group had sustainability embedded into their normal curriculum, whereas this group didn't. So for here we talked about working out your carbon footprint, green driving techniques. We didn't just concentrate on electricity, it was a random thing. Would you, like waste disposal? And these we just taught ecology, gamekeeping, shooting kind of thing, you know, the normal curriculum. So the last group, they received their normal curriculum, but they did have some sustainability teaching embedded into it, which I couldn't answer because that's part of the curriculum. Basically these more were ND students, levels 2 and 3, and FD, and they were level 1 students, just with the way it worked. So we had a lot more family participation. Weekly average use went from 170 down to 127, and we had a blip at week 45, which could have been a 1 week, you know, I'm not sure what happened there. I think because it's not significant, because it was such a short period of time, we didn't have a massive sample size, and also the data, you rely on 16-year-olds to provide your data. I'll talk about that in a second. But it did have some positive, you know, I'm taking positives from that, and I think that next time I repeat this, we'll build on it and strengthen it. Well, RCU allowed me to kind of break into research. Now, I worked as a research assistant and as a lecturer, but not had that opportunity. So they initially gave me this, the grant and the support to kind of design a research project, and also just to kind of fund it so that I could take part in it. Everyone on the RCU has been really supportive. I've had help from designing the questionnaires, analysing the data, talking about the focus group and the marketing afterwards. So basically, if RCU hadn't funded this project, it wouldn't have taken place.
New College Swindon had been offering a parenting course for a number of years in partnership with a local authority. They wanted to find out what benefits, both actual and perceived, the implementation of a parenting course designed for parents of adolescents had had on the participating individuals, their families and the wider community.
A reminder then about the course. It's been running for 5 years. It's aimed at parents with adolescent children who are beginning to show behavioural problems, but also parents with children who may be younger but still displaying adolescent tendencies. And the idea of it first came about when Swindon Youth Offending Team approached a couple of tutors at New College and said, can you develop this for us as part of our parenting intervention strategy that was in place. So parents coming on the course felt then that they weren't alone. The group, as I've already mentioned, provided a supportive network for them. And often the course may not have introduced anything new, but it helped to reinforce ideas that the parents had already had or knew about parenting, and some of them had watched things like Super Nanny, the Joe Frost programmes, and there are ideas that were reinforced that parents had let slip. Most of the parents, I think 34 of them, said that the relationship with the teenager had improved, and the improvements really focused around there was more easy, freer communication between them, and they were beginning to connect again. The child was beginning to participate in family life, they were doing more fun things together, and there was increased trust and respect on both sides. So the conclusions then we drew from the research finding was that the course was really valuable to parent learners, that there were sustained improvements in the family relationships and the child's behaviour, and obviously that came out more from the interviews with the parents themselves, although it was the perception from the stakeholders. There had been some improvements in the wider behaviour, although it's difficult to find really hard evidence other than what the parents are saying and the perceptions from the stakeholders, and we need to market the course further. Not all of us are trained researchers, and I think it becomes the elephant in the room. You're a bit scared that you're going to do it wrong and that it's not going to be accurate or robust. I think what this project has shown me that when you have the support of a body like RCU, they can provide the expertise and the quality and the advice to help you get to where you want to be. They provided a lot of support in setting up the questionnaire and providing software, and for also giving us desk research or indication of sources where we could find desk research into adolescent behavioural problems across Swindon.
AOC South West wanted to investigate the feasibility of creating a suite of vocational programmes that support low-carbon technologies and sustainable skills in the South West region. They wanted to find out who are the key emerging industries or sectors, what relationships do they have with further education colleges, what are their medium and long-term skills needs, and how should colleges respond?
Good afternoon everyone. I'm from the Association of Colleges in the South West. I'm here really sort of standing in from Ian Munro, who's the Regional Director that some of you know, and it was Ian who developed this project with some input from myself and others. So I'm going to take you through what I've loosely called low carbon vocational skills, because that's a nice shorthand to go up on a PowerPoint. So I'm going to talk about a research project that we've been undertaking in terms of the low carbon area. One of the things that the South West has been trying to do is position itself in terms of the low carbon agenda. So it is a low carbon area, and in a sense, looking at this project and the opportunity that RCU gave us was to try and play on that. And to some extent, we were trying to get, a terrible phrase, get ahead of the curve. Because there are a number of people piling into this agenda, and there's a risk that we get left behind, we being the college community. So, finally, positives and negatives, and this is very much a sort of list for sort of further discussion. We know a lot more than we did previously. We need to know even more, because we know it for micro-regen, or we think we do, and I'll give an interesting comment there. But there's a whole range of other low-carbon sectors. Marine, civil nuclear is an issue in the South West in terms of replacing nuclear power. We haven't touched those yet, and certainly there are opportunities there. So RCU's support in all senses was critical, because without the funding, which in a sense primed all of this process, we wouldn't have been able to resource the research. Also to have conversations with your colleagues to test and receive back thoughts. And through that process then to leverage in further funds that we've in a sense made available to the colleges in the South West. And that's something which wouldn't have happened without that resource being made available.